It says it's broadcasting.
You can always refresh the page to see if it's hit the channel. It takes a second.
Live now.
All right. What's up, everybody?
Stop. Hey, everybody. Can you hear me now?
Hey, what's up? I can hear you just fine. I didn't know if there was an audio overlay on the beginning intro, but I just want to say, hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing?
Hey, Jess. Well, welcome from the... I'm in the inside of the bunker in Montana. Jesse's on the outside of the bunker in Montana because he can get a better signal outside the bunker. And greetings to all. Jess, how you doing, buddy? What's up?
I've been good, RJ. Just been, touching base now and then, checking out some videos and kind of see what's going on. How you been doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been fire season out here in Cali, and so we've been kind of dealing with fires and fire by the house and another fire by the house. And I was up on my roof hosing down the roof with the water just in case the embers from the fires actually hit. So it's been a very interesting past couple of weeks, that's for sure. Hey, real quick, I want to throw out a couple of early shout outs. Easy Boy 88 Sunny. He said, shout me out, yo. So, yo. And then Negadocious, Willie Johnson, Negadocious TX in the house. Nacadocious, I guess.
What up, Macadocious?
Hey, how you doing? Hey, Reese Dees is on the line. He is stirring shit up, that's for sure. I've been watching your videos, dude. You definitely been stirring the pot, no doubt about that. Keep up the good work. Playa, greetings. Victor Rodriguez, greetings. Adam Johnson, greetings, Adam. Glad to see you jumping on the show, man. I talked to Adam the other day. He sent me out a quick shout out and said, hey, and wanted to put a quick one out to him that way too.
Adam's a good dude.
Dude, we got a lot to talk about. This show, man, we got a lot of shit to talk about.
I know it's in the title, but let me give a shout out real quick to my friend Tori for sending me the link to the Eugene Deal stuff. And I don't mean to jump ahead there, RJ.
No, not at all. No, that's one of the many things that we're going to be talking about here on the show. Willie Johnson, yeah, Nagadocious, I said it right. Okay. Slim, what's up? So we're going to just keep letting people jump on, stuff like that. I got something really cool for you all. I'm not going to play it right now, but I have some never before heard a Tupac story from Tupac's own lips regarding a meeting that he had with a certain notorious real mob.
I've never heard this, guys. That's the funny thing. He's like, hey, I'm going to play this clip, by the way. And he told me what it was. And I said, well, who's saying it? He's like, it's Tupac.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard this either. You guys
all right. So Jesse, hold on, Jesse. I'm going to turn up your audio a little bit. They're saying your audio's bad. Try it now. So talk, Jesse.
I was just telling them what they had coming in store. Some very exclusive audio.
Yeah. Check it. Is that audio sounding any better? Feedback, guys, let me know. Bang it back so we can see if our audio is set right here. It's always just a little bit okay.
Well, I'm sitting in my truck from Canada.
Jesse's echoing. We can't hear Jesse because he's echoing. So let's see here. Let me turn that back down again. Maybe Jesse's not echoing. And
right on. Test.
Can you test your levels there?
No, not really. I'm kind of limited. I told you I'm sitting up in Canada rehab, and all I have is a beer out. 1 second. Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you clicking. Now I can't hear you at all.
Oh no. What about now?
Oh, keep going. You were getting back. You're getting better. Are those your Mike Carl autograph speakerphones there?
There they are. You sent them to me when I had a dangerous trip trip down to Long Beach that he filmed from the bus.
All right, hang on. I'd rather you echo just a little bit. I'm gonna turn you up a little bit. All right.
Okay.
All right. So check it out. We have so much shit that's been going on this week. I guess we should start with probably the most recent, which is Eugene Deal. Rashad Hall, welcome to the show. Victor Rodriguez, thank you for the feedback. Lula H. He just sounds weird. Worse now the volume. Well, yeah, we just fixed that, I think. So, Rashad Hall, R.I.P. to my brother Amari Hall. Rest in peace.
Oh, rest in peace, brother.
One
Hold
for
your
you.
head.
Pour one out for you. Anyway, want to talk about a couple of things. Let's get into it. Eugene Deal back on track again. He had a little something to say. This is my favorite. I'm probably going to get MREC is probably going to get pissed off at me, but stand by, Jesse.
Yo, Greg Kading.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. Yo, Greg Kading. Yeah, that about says it all, doesn't it? At the end of the day, and why would Eugene Deal say something like that? Well, I got a clip that I'm going to play here. If I can find it, there it is. Eugene Deal actually talked with me a little bit back when we were doing interviews some time back. And I've got another audio clip of Eugene Deal that nobody's heard before. And this will take it another step further. Listen to this. There you go. Okay, we're back again. That didn't come through very loud, did it?
We can fix it in post.
We can fix it in post. I like that. Yeah, Eugene Deal said that he called the murder rap bullshit and called the people from murder rap a bunch of liars. And, because I can't argue with that.
The funny thing is this is news to everybody except, people like me and you, and even, Terrell even knew that, really, what Gene Deal thought. I mean, this is something that people that have been looking into the case for years now kind of have figured out. Gene Deal's always held this opinion. This is not some come to Jesus moment for him. So I find it very exciting that a larger audience can actually hear Gene's comments on Greg Kading.
Well, it's interesting to me because I'm trying to understand all the alignments, where everybody was aligned, because on the one hand, you have these people saying, calling up Eugene Deal. Eugene Deal's the man. He's the guy. He's the guy. He's the guy. Well, Eugene Deal's got a very strong opinion about Greg Kading, and some of these very same people that were, kind of saying good things about Eugene Deal were also saying good things about Greg Kading. So if Eugene Deal's got that feeling about Greg Kading, how are you going to line with Eugene Deal, still be friends with Eugene, and respect that opinion because you had this guy on your show?
Well, Greg and Reggie are friends, right? So they're close.
I guess so. I mean, how many shows do you do together and not be friends? I mean, I did one show with Reggie. You did one show with Reggie. Greg Kading's done several shows with Reggie. So yeah. I would guess it would be the honeymoon phase because the dating only lasted with us one date. We were single dates and we were done. But after that, then it's
yeah. I just didn't want to continue the relationship.
Yeah, I was free to see other people, and it was probably a good idea. His name is Gene. His real name is Eugene, but he goes by Gene Deal. And he is a witness in the shooting of Notorious B.I.G. He was a bodyguard that was there at the Peterson Auto Museum that night. He is the one who identified a person based on a composite sketch. He gave a sketch, and in a lineup, he identified Amir Muhammad as the possible alleged shooter for the Biggie Wallace killing. So,
and he has stated to me and to other people that his problem with Greg Kading early on was being misrepresented in murder rap over his identification of Amir Muhammad. Greg Kading said that Eugene Deal was real shaky about it, like unsure if that was the guy. And Gene Deal said that he identified the guy, that the picture was shown to him and the picture that they showed him. And I don't know if this is the blurred picture or not, But the picture that they showed him, he said that he made an ID on, and him and Greg differ on those 2 points.
Well, I got news for you. This is another thing, and I didn't know if I don't think I put it up on the screen. I may have. No, I did not. I wished I had. Um, there is a document out in an interview that Greg Kading did where Greg Kading said that he was not, excuse me, that he was not exposed to any of the civil documents in the Wallace case. And when you think about that, if you're placed in charge of an investigation and you're supposed to consider all options, and yet they say, well, you know, this other theory over here about the cops did it. Well, you can't see any of those documents. We're not going to let you see any of the filings. Now, that includes depositions, that includes interrogations, that includes affidavits, declarations, statements, you know, those kind of things that you need when you want to actually find out what people have to say about stuff, right? So here they go in this situation where they're not allowed to see anything regarding the Wallace trial. Well, what other theories are out there?
Well, and you know what? Eugene Deal said this too. He said that Greg's motive from the jump was to clear dirty cops.
Right. And the funny thing about it is that Eugene Deal did a second identification. He did it in a deposition. He did it in the civil case. It wasn't just one time he looked at it and identified Amir Muhammad. He identified him twice. And maybe it was the Kading didn't get a chance to see that or he didn't know about it. But you got to be very careful because Perry Sanders and everybody knows that Eugene Deal gave a definitive definition or a match for the Amir Muhammad artwork, picture, whatever, mugshot, whatever it is. I'm not talking well today, Jesse, for some reason or another. I don't know what the hell's my problem. I'm not speaking right today. A lot of stuff.
That's all right.
But you know, here's the bottom line. And I'm checking on the feedback for a minute. This Rashad Hall. We'll be in touch with us. You can always get a hold of Jesse. Is there an email address they can contact you at?
Yeah, Jmix exclusives at gmail.com.
There you go. Jmix exclusives at gmail.com. Rashad, put your information out there. We'll see if we can't get. We'll see how we do that. Anyway, want to go back and talk for a minute because we're going to go revisit something for a minute. You know, this is the thing. I mean, Eugene Deal saying that Greg Kading is a liar and then he's lied about things. You know, in Battle for Compton, we did an interview and we did bits and pieces of it from a private investigator who was a former LAPD detective in the gang units and robbery homicide off there. His name was Stephen Strong. And he got a little bit of play towards the end of the movie as he went to talk about Greg Kading. But this is about a 5-minute clip. I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is raw footage, by the way, about Stephen Strong. And you're going to pick up something that you've never seen before during this interview. So let's let it roll. We'll see where we go.
Right on. Steve Strong's the man.
Okay, how did you get involved with Torres Ramos? How did you get involved and mixed up in all that?
I had gotten a call from a U.S. Used to be a U.S. attorney, was a private attorney. He had gotten my name from a colleague. I think it was Bobby Sanchez. He was an old narcotic detective. He was a private investigator. He was always already working on the Torres case as an investigator, and they wanted a gang expert because there were some gang issues in there. And I've been known, and still am, as a gang expert in the defense world also. So they called me, and I went down and talked to him about the case, and told him, yeah, I'd be glad to work on it with you and be more happy. So I got retained and started working on it, and got into it, and found out that I don't understand the gang issues. There's no real gang involvement in this that I can find.
This was a supermarket guy, wasn't it?
He started out with one and had a chain of supermarkets. He started out at just a regular Joe in Newton and built a business for the community and kept it in the community and even hired ex-gang members or gang members to try to keep them, off the street or clean them up. And that was the only kind of gang involvement that I could find. I couldn't find anything involving him in a gang himself, Mr. Torres, or his brother or anything, and I just didn't get the concept of what the U.S. Attorney's Office was trying to prove, other than they were trying to do a RICO thing on him and whatnot. And so I stayed on, even though there was no, in my opinion, no gang involvement. And they started looking at stuff, and they were asking me questions about informants and how you handle them, and do you know this detective? And then they mentioned Kading, and I mentioned that to my wife, and she goes, "Oh, he was my probationer." I said he was a good cop, he was a good probationer and all that. And then she'd also mentioned him when the Orange County bank robbery shootout happened, and he was in SIS. So I didn't know where they were going at first until they, were basically interviewing me about informants and stuff and how to handle them and the protocol and things of that nature. So, I told them how you never meet alone. Your commanding officer has to have a file on them with their photo and anything they've given you that's good, bad, or ugly, whatever. There has to be a file, and all the times you contact him, and you always have to be with a partner. You can't give them anything, you can't promise them anything. And if you buy them a hamburger, or if you buy them a pack of cigarettes, you have to put in a department chit so that that's on file, that there's a record of, he can't say, well, he gave me $1 million to say this. So, and I tell them, and they go, "Was there anything that says that?" And I go, "Well, it's something that you're taught on the department. This is the way, you can't do it any other way." And when I was on there, wasn't an actual manual, a snitch manual, or an informant manual. But later on, years there were, and Bobby Sanchez, he retired after me, he said, "No, there is a manual." And so we kept asking, the U.S. Attorney kept asking for it, and they were told there is none. There's no such thing. Kading's telling the federal prosecutor there is no such thing. We know there is. And so the investigation goes on, and I find there's just nothing about, there's no evidence of murder, there's no evidence of drug dealing, there's no evidence of gang involvement. It's just a very rumor type insinuation as far as evidence goes. So we get to court, and I'm basically there as a police practices expert at that time in court. And so they're having discussion and testimony about, informants and things, and Kading and all that, and he's up there and testifying and on. And then the defense calls me, and I get on the witness stand, and they're asking me. And I said, "Yeah, this is how you deal with informants. This is a department protocol, and there's a manual. There wasn't when I was on it. There is now." And the judge turned over and asked me, he said, "Well, what is your assessment, or how do you feel that Detective Kading handling of these informants?" And I said, "He sounded like he was totally out of control and totally out of policy, to me, Your Honor. He did not follow the correct procedure." And he goes, "Okay." And then the judge told the U.S. Attorney that I want to see the informant manual. "Well, there isn't one, Your Honor." And he said, "I want that manual in my office in 1 hour." And they went and got it. And so that basically put Kading in a real cross, because he testified that there is no such thing. And there was. But the federal prosecutor believed Kading that there wasn't anything, and there was. And then you saw exactly what I laid out as how it's to be handled. Come to find out, and I listened to a lot of the tapes of him and his informant. Why he take himself out of the mouth? Because he's promising these guys houses, money, all these things, I need you to say this, I need you to say, and then I have phone conversations of the informant telling other guys, yeah, I have to say this, and that, and 400 grand, I'm gonna get.
No, we're not pre-recorded, Bomb First.
I'm gonna be living high on the hog, I'm gonna be doing it, bro, and all this, and I'm like, you can't promise people, Vinny.
This is called technology, Greg. You gotta learn
You
it.
can't buy
Step it up.
informants, you can't offer them anything for that. You have to tell them that I can't give you any, I have no authority to give you anything.
But who would believe that? If someone, you're going to get $500,000 if you tell something like that. Who would believe him anyway? I mean, really, are they that cold?
It was on tape. You didn't have to believe it, it was on tape. That's why I don't understand why he taped himself when he visited these guys alone. He never had a partner with him, and he never had a witness or anything, but he taped himself. He even taped himself with a phone, and I just don't understand the mentality of someone that's a seasoned officer or detective that he knows they're taping this. Why would you
All right.
say these things? Other than sometimes they get so smug that they think they're above everything and nobody's gonna know.
All right, we're going to cut it short because I keep hearing that the audio on it is really bad. No, John from Bomb First, Super Troll, we're not pre-recorded.
Hi.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to do when you're pre-recorded.
Yeah, like this. Okay. All right. So what Steve Strong was saying in a nutshell is that Steve Strong was the actual private investigator for the Torres Ramos crew. And he went head-to-head with Greg Kading and basically could prove, and he's there to testify, that Kading lied about a bunch of stuff. He's out there promising people $500,000. He going around promising people things. You can't do that. And then on top of that, he went in and he said that there was no procedural manual that the LAPD had about how to deal with snitches. And there was. And he lied to the judge about it. He lied to the court about it. The court made him go get the manual. They had it. The LAPD got it back in a few minutes. And, he was shown to be, that it was a lot more than just however he's kind of whitewashed it in terms of, well, I made a couple of technical mistakes. I made a spelling error here and there. No. You made some out and out misrepresentations about things, just flat out lies. And you got caught. And Steve Strong was there to see it when you got caught. But the thing I wanted to talk about for a minute was Steve Strong's allegation about SIS. Are you familiar with SIS?
I read an article on it, and I know it's an elite force within the LAPD. I don't have the specific details, but there's some bad motherfuckers.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have the highest homicide rate of any LAPD squad. We're talking about, I think that the last thing I counted, it was like 34, 35 deaths that were related to people that have been shot and killed by the SIS. I mean, the SIS's whole job is supposed to be surveillance. That's their big thing. That's what they're supposed to be doing, is surveillance. They're supposed to be actually looking at people and watching them and doing their undercover work. But for some reason, they like to pull out their guns, and they sure like to shoot suspects. And they have, and that's what SIS does. Now, they're basically kind of the goon squad for the chief of police. And if that's the case, and the SIS is the goon squad for the chief of police, again, not pulling out any tinfoil hats, but, Greg Kading's been given a lot of latitude by the LAPD with regards to writing his book and making the allegations that he's made, because he doesn't portray the LAPD very well in his book.
It's like Eugene Deal said. What about David Mack and Rafael Perez being seen at the Peterson Museum on the night Biggie was killed?
We have a witness. Yeah, we have a witness. I have a witness. I talked to her personally that was there that day and saw Rafael Perez at the Peterson Auto Museum. She's asked that her name not be given out, and I respect that because she's actually a pretty prominent person in the world of media and literature. She runs an online publication and a very big one at that. And she asked to do that. And I asked her why she didn't come forward originally. And of course, it's like a lot of other people. I mean, you get that information. She called her father, who was an attorney, and her father said, just shut up about it. Don't say anything about it. Don't bring this trouble on yourself, because that's what you're going to do if you start talking about these things. So, yeah, there's actually footage of the Biggie murder there. That's for sure. Um, let's see. What?
Yeah,
Look
that's,
at.
I mean, that's odd. That person brings up a good point. There is VHS taken from a van across the street from the Peterson Automotive Museum, and it's of the shooting. So, you're talking about an SIS that their whole job is surveillance. And then you have someone surreptitiously filming the incident from a van across the street. I mean, yes, if someone made that comment, I can't see him right now, but I would absolutely think that that is very suspicious.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking through some of the comments here. Let's see here. Let's see here. Brotherhood. I didn't say it, but Brotherhood equals scared of Reggie Club. That's
Black Klansman?
yeah. The scared of Reggie Club. Let's see. Well, it says, wire it up. RJ, when are you going to debate Greg Kading instead of talking about him? Well, here's how it works, okay? There isn't a reason to have to debate anybody because what we put out here are facts. We don't deal with a lot of conjecture. We put out facts, and our facts are undisputed facts. The Kading thing is an undisputed fact. There's no reason to debate. What's the debate? What are you going to? What did you say this? Yes, I said it. Here's the document. Here's the court transcript. Did you say it? Yes. Did you lie? Yes. That's what you did. What's the debate? What's there to debate? I mean, I keep hearing these people say, "Why don't you debate him?" Why? To debate would have to mean that you have two different opposing points of view. Here's the deal. You lied. That's a fact. That's in the case. That's a fact. Steve Strong said it. He was a witness to it. That's a fact. The court transcript says you lied. The attorneys that were actually cross-examining said this guy will not stop lying until he is caught. Those are the exact words the attorney said in that case. That's a fact. We deal in undisputed fact. We don't deal with a lot of conjecture. We do conjecture from time to time and we give our own personal opinions about it. But there's no reason to debate Reggie or debate Greg Kading because you debate the facts. All they give us back is the nah club. They give us the nah defense. So there's no real reason to do that.
I debated Greg, and here's a quick lesson on if you want to debate Greg Kading. Just be prepared to hear, no, you're wrong, 100 times. No, And just like you said, it's the defense. There is no debate, guys.
How are we walking? How are we walking a thin line, Kenneth McLean? How are we walking a thin line between being wrong and flat out lying? I'd like to see what the rationale is for that. When you say that when you claim that there is no LA police manual that justifies that, and that's your job, that's what you do for a living, and you're asked that, and you say no, and you say no repeatedly, and they ask you about that, that's your training. That's what you get trained in. You get trained in how to deal with snitches by the LAPD manual. I mean, my God, that's like going to your mechanic and saying, is there a manual on how to fix the car? And they say, no, there's not. Well, of course there is. There's a manual for that.
And it's in the court documents. I'm surprised Kenneth McLean hasn't seen them. I've posted them everywhere as well as you have.
All right, so let's see here. RJ burned his Nike outfit. No, I think, yeah. Fuck you all in the horse you rode in on, okay? I got my fucking Nike swoosh right there. Fuck you all on the horse you rode in on. I don't take a position on that one way or another. It's nice to see you take the swipe anyway. R.I.P. Big Frank. You're right there. RJ is a proven liar. Okay, let's find out what RJ lied about. This is a good one too, Jesse. This is RJ's a proven liar. So let's find out what I lied about. Okay. Let's see.
It's like a Royal Rumble, RJ versus the Trolls.
I know, huh? Yeah, it's like that. All right, well, let's get on to something else then, because we're not going to deal with that. Let's talk again. Let's talk about the City of Lies. Let's go on and change the subject here and talk about City of Lies and what's going on with City of Lies. Because that's a crazy situation right now, and there's all kinds of very different theories on why. I mean, I'm watching newspaper articles go on about blaming Johnny Depp for things, and I'm seeing them saying that the film itself actually got sued. There's a lot of things going on with that, and what we really wanted to do is get down to the gist of what's really going on here. And I alluded to it a little bit some time ago in conversation with people. I've talked about it. But here's really what's going on at the end of the day. Excuse me. This is here. Let's see if we can get it here. This is the lawsuit that was filed by Bank Loomy, who is the investor in the motion picture City of Lies with Johnny Depp, that chronicles the Biggie Smalls thing. By the way, Kurt Poole, welcome to the show, buddy. Glad you're here. Glad to see Kurt in the house. Say hi.
Great to see you here, Kurt.
Yeah, great to see you, Kurt. And yes, he does. Over on Jesse Controversy Radio, Kurt Poole's got a good interview. Give a shout out to that. I heard the interview today. It was good. And props to you on there for sure. And everybody go watch Controversy Radio when you get a chance. Anyway, here's the deal. The film company Good Films that produced City of Lies was not sued. Good Films has not been sued. Good Films owns the film. They have it there. They went and got money from the bank. And the security...
RJ.
Yeah.
Isn't this because Johnny Depp beat up a bodyguard or something?
Yeah, well, that's what they like to say, and that's what they've been doing. They've been laying it off on Johnny Depp and making excuses because they have PR people, and that's the kind of information they put out, which is a big bullshit, okay? And what we did is we pulled the lawsuit. Here's really what's going on here. You've got Open Road and Miramax who agreed to distribute City of Lies. They're two film companies. Open Road got bought by some Chinese investors called the Tang Media Partners. And the Tang, wasn't that the drink that astronauts drank?
Yeah,
Tang?
the first drink that went to the moon.
Yeah, Tang, drink Tang. Well, the Tang Partners, they invested in that, and when they did that, they changed the title of the company from Global Road to, from Open Road to Global Road. And they had the money, but Tang Partners actually is the owner of all that. Well, the whole lot of them are going broke. Bottom line, they're going broke. They don't have any money, and the lawsuit goes on to talk about that. And really what it does say is that Global Road was supposed to put up $10 million in marketing and advertising to pay for putting that out, and they were going to guarantee that the movie got in no less than 1,800 theaters. Okay, that's a wide release by anybody's scope. That's a wide release. That's a huge release, and they were going to spend $10 million to advertise this. So bottom line is that we actually had a $10 million commitment in addition to 26 already spent. 26 was what the movie cost, so that's almost a 40% of the budget of the movie advertising cost. And Global Road said that they would put it up. Well, when it came, they delivered the movie, and when it came time for Global Road to put up that $10 million, they reach into their back pocket like when you're in college and you just find lint in your pocket. You know, Global Road's on fucking macaroni and cheese. I guess maybe in the Global, maybe we should be thinking more like Top Ramen. You know, that they're in their budget right now is Top Ramen. They're not pulling $10 million out to do anything. And when they realized they don't have $10 million to put it out, they started blaming Johnny Depp. They started saying, well, it's the wrong culture. We're going to do all that. But at the end of the day, that was really what happened. They were supposed to come up with $10 million for it. They didn't come up with it. They couldn't come up with it. They tried to make some excuses to deflect why they couldn't. And at the end of the day, they're the ones getting sued, not the Good Films, not Brad Furman, not the people that made the motion picture. And that's really important because that motion picture will see the light of day. It may not be right now. It may be in a few months, but that's okay because that story doesn't get old and the facts are still the facts. And so we'll look forward to when that happens. It's sad that it all had to come down to this and you had to get into some people that, you know, Global Road spent all their money on a movie about a robot dog called Axel, I think was the name of it. And they blew all their money on that, thinking that was going to be like the next Transformers or E.T. or something like that. But anyway, at the end of the day, and we got some craziness going on in the comments here. So hang on just a second. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Who's... let's see here. Yeah, you have a moderator on this, Jess? Do you have a moderator for this, for the chats there? JM? Huh? Is JM on there? Is he a moderator for this?
I don't think so. I can't reach those controls at the moment.
All right. Well, that's all right. Let the trolls talk. I blocked DJ AG a little bit ago because he's just an idiot. That's all. But trolls is that.
Wait,
that's what they are.
Doesn't DJ AG have a video out where he said, if you want to know who killed Tupac, Eugene Deal says read murder rap? That DJ AG?
Oh yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, that's
Oh, well, that fucking headline came back and bit you in the ass, didn't it, buddy?
yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's the problem. So back to the Bobby Brown story. Mario Fernandez, go back to the Bobby Brown story. We'll wish you well. Thank you for tuning into the show, and go enjoy your Bobby Brown
Man,
story.
it's hard to compete with the Bobby Brown
I
story.
know, yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? So that's
We're, s-
how we're gonna do that. But I'm gonna
we're
drop
still
something
looking at a
on you that
contract.
I'm gonna drop something on you that nobody's heard before. This is a story that from Tupac himself. Listen in.
Exclusive.
It's an exclusive. You're right.
I tell people all the time this story at university that how I went out with the mom one night, the Gambino family. I tell you that story. They got me to me in Brooklyn late one night. I'm at Universal Studios the other night. We can get out the car. Say Tupac, white guy, and I'm about to diss him. Like, you know, he's like, it's me, it's woo woo woo. You don't know me? He said, blah blah blah, Gambino. And I was like, what? And he said, remember we took you to the Gambino? I thought in my mind that I was making it up. Because I couldn't believe it and it never happened again. And they never came back. So I was like, well, that shit, they must have lied. These niggas like, remember playing game? I was like, oh, shit. And Universal Studios, like, it's good. Ooh. And I was like, see?
Well, there you go. If you guys can get thrilled on a picture of Tupac that's never been seen before, there's Tupac out there meeting the Gambino family. And I guess that he didn't really believe they were the Gambinos when they introduced themselves. Huh? Yeah.
I said exclusive.
Yeah. That's it.
Just to let you guys know, I left the #1 Tupac channel. I come back and we're gonna keep it that way. We're always gonna bring you exclusive stuff. Shout out to everybody out there in the comments that are acting wild. It's good. You're just building the metrics for us. I want to thank RJ Bond for always providing stuff like that. You can call it Ask Us or whatever you want. So thank you, RJ, for that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the things that are relevant. There was something else I wanted to talk about, and that was, and I talked about a little bit in the assassination news broadcast, and I guess it's a good time to talk about that. Periodically, if I get news and Jesse's not around and I get news, I'm just going to drop it, and I'm going to drop it in a small chunk called the assassination news. It'll be a short 5-minute deal, maybe 10 minutes. And then we'll come back around and we'll talk about it on the live shows with Jesse. We'll start talking about things. We'll, make sure that we have the broader discussion about it. But I want it to be timely, and I'm tired of digging up information and then sitting on it and watching somebody else break the story and break it wrong, usually. So that's what we're gonna do.
You mean like Gonzo being dead?
Yeah, like Gonzo being dead. That was that's a one phone call fix right there. But
It's not funny because a lot of people took that seriously, but his Twitter was hacked. A quick IM or a message or a phone call would have told anybody who thought he was dead that Gonzo wasn't dead. But I thought that was a little bit of humor.
Yeah, well, it's again, so it's unfortunate, but that's for sure. So anyway, there's something that really bugs me about this whole. There's a lawsuit that was filed back in May, Jesse, of this last year, and it was by a bunch of think tank attorneys who are supposed to be big civil rights attorneys, and they sued the Las Vegas Police Department, the City of Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And they sued them because they said there's some changes in the law that started because of that big shooting where all those people got killed in the mass shooting in Vegas. The courts came back and kind of stepped back and took away a lot of the police department's right to privacy when it came to investigation files. And they said, hey, we have to be very narrow on this, and we have to actually give you guys, if the public wants investigation files and it's a closed investigation or there's no reason you shouldn't give this information up, then you should be able to give that information on request. And, Vegas begrudgingly admitted to it, and the court stood behind this. And, of course, these people went in and they asked for the Tupac Shakur case files. They want to see them. And they said, give us the Tupac Shakur case files because we know the courts just changed their opinion and we deserve these files. We deserve to know. The people deserve to know. And what they're saying is that the public's need to know what's going on with the case outweighs any kind of secrets that the Vegas Police Department might have. And I think in Nevada, I think it costs $400 to file a lawsuit, $425 to file a lawsuit. Okay. And so these people filed this lawsuit. Now, again, they didn't file it on behalf of any one person. They filed it for themselves as this group, this civil rights group. And it wasn't like they filed it for a specific person. They filed it for themselves, which are the attorneys and all that, for their little clique. And apparently the way that the case has turned out now, it's turned out that the court is going to allow these attorneys, these people for this civil rights organization, to actually go into court and do an in-camera inspection of the case files. They're actually going to get to look at the case files because they're going to try to figure out with Vegas police what they think is confidential. Vegas police doesn't want to give anything up because they say it's all confidential. It's all leads to the investigation. It's all relevant to the investigation. But they won't give up anything. And so these attorneys or this group gets to walk in to the court and look at the Tupac Shakur case files.
What are you slipping for, RJ? Why haven't you got?
Yeah, I mean, if I knew it was only going to cost $400 and a good argument to go in there and go inspect the files. Now here's the kicker to this: they get to go look at the files, but you know what the court said? You can't talk about it. They put a gag order on the whole thing, so they can go look at it, but they can't talk about it. So what does that accomplish?
I don't know. That makes me wonder how many cops' names, LA cops' names, are in those files.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a clip, and I'm going to play some more Brent Becker clips because you got to remember something. Of all the people that are putting out YouTube channels, how many people have actually talked to a real Las Vegas detective? Guys, anyone? Greg Kading didn't even talk to Vegas detectives, okay? Greg Kading didn't even talk to Vegas detectives. And I can pull that clip and put that up there where he admitted that he didn't. He said many of his peers did, but he didn't. So Greg Kading didn't. Well, I can't say, I know Reggie Wright talked to a lot of detectives in Vegas. I know that's true. I'm sure he can talk about that. But what I mean is how many of them actually interviewed Vegas detectives about the investigation. And so far, you're looking at him. That's the only one who's done that. Frank Alexander did it with Brent Becker, and I was lucky enough to do that as well. So Las Vegas police, if I had only known it was going to cost $400 in a gag order, my problem was I probably wouldn't be quiet about it. I'd probably want to say what was in those case files, those Vegas case files. So what I've noticed then, ever since the court made that order, gag order, there's been 3 separate times that they had scheduled to do that review, to do the inspection of the documents, and 3 different times it's been postponed. So either Vegas is stalling and figuring out a reason to keep continuing the case, and there's been no motions filed, so it's a call to the judge or something. There's been no motions filed in the case. But either that or this attorney firm or this group of civil rights attorneys, and I did reach out to them and try to contact the attorney that's the lead attorney for this. I never got a call back, never got an email, never got a response as to what, kind of what their experience and what their plans are about it. Maybe they're not interested. Maybe once they got told, yeah, you can see the documents, but you can't talk about them, and it kind of defeats the purpose of it, and they're not going to get any traction because the judge is already saying, sure, you can see what's in them, but you can't talk about them. Kind of defeats the purpose of why you'd want to see them in the first place, to let people know what's going on.
That flies in the face if it confirms what everybody thinks that they already know, which is Orlando Anderson did this. Why would the police department, the Las Vegas Police Department, be so concerned about what's in this?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's the secret Keefe D confession file. I don't know. Maybe it's them.
Is that the one where he's eating a sandwich?
Yeah, it might be. But, at the end of the day, we're talking about how, $400 and a good argument, you can see the Tupac Shakur files yourself. So anybody wants to pony up $400, just go to the court website, get a copy of the same complaint that they filed, just copy everything word for word, because that's what got them in the door. So if you make the same complaint, you can get in the door too. And for $400, you can go look at the Tupac Shakur files because you have a good argument and the court likes the argument, but can't tell anybody about it though. And you're right. If it was Orlando Anderson and it was case closed, what's the big deal? What's the fight about here? I mean, really,
Are they protecting a 20-year-old dead gangbanger from the South Side?
Well, when you put it like that, it does kind of sound a little odd, doesn't it? You know,
It
you're
does.
protecting a 20-year-old dead gangbanger and his associates, who, by the way, are also dead. You know, there's actually only one page in the whole Tupac Shakur file. This is the big secret. It's a sheet of paper that says they're all dead, and that's what Vegas doesn't. You know, Vegas, I guess, wants
Or
you
Zip
to
Martin?
believe. Yeah, they're still working the case. I guess that's what they want to believe. So,
You know, because the title of the video, we're talking about Eugene Deal, and he brought that up too. He said, I knew Zip Martin. He said Zip Martin didn't drive to Las Vegas with a Glock. He flew to Las Vegas. And that's the funny thing about this is who are they protecting? Orlando Anderson, Zip Martin? Like you said, it'd be a page, one page saying that they're all dead. There's no one to protect anymore unless it would hurt a department. That's my opinion.
well, I think so. I think, you know, the thing about Los Angeles and Las Vegas have a very tenuous relationship, the two police departments. They're cordial to each other, but they don't necessarily get along with each other. And this goes back years and years and years to when the city of Los Angeles was actually bordered outside the county of Los Angeles. And in Burbank and areas of the county of Los Angeles on the other side of the LA River, there was all the poorhouses and the gambling and everything that was going on that were the illegal activities that were being condoned on the other side of the LA River, which was the border of the city of Los Angeles. Any of you who have watched LA Confidential or any movies like that, you don't need to tell you more about that than that. But ultimately, there's always been this. And then Vegas kind of opened up and they were the Wild West, but they really didn't make any pretenses about what they did. They're like, hey, you want to come and gamble? Here, have a good time. You want to come and whore it up? Come on, have a good time. You want to drink it up? Fall down drunk? It's good. You can have a good time. They never really made it like this secret thing where it was like this prohibited thing. They were pretty much out in the open about it, and you got to kind of admit, I kind of admire the honesty in it. I mean, it's straightforward. They're not trying to pull any punches about what they are. They're not trying to pretend to be something that they're not. Meanwhile, you got everybody from LA sneaking over the river in Burbank and going over across the river and going back over the river being pious, but then going on the other side and doing their little dirty nasties, you know, on that side of the river. And so that's historically what's gone on, and that's always been the problem between Vegas and Los Angeles. They need each other. Vegas needs Los Angeles. They need that LA money to come up and spend the weekend up there. They got to have it. But at the same time, I don't think there's a lot of respect between the Vegas Police Department and the LA Police Department, and I can see why, because of the things that the LA Police Department has done. You know,
Well, didn't Greg Kading come out and say that he intentionally withheld evidence from Vegas?
Yeah, that was in his book that they made the decision, the LAPD made the decision to withhold information about the Tupac Shakur killing from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. So you can imagine why there's not a lot of trust right there. You know, that's it. So anyway, at the end of the day, Vegas has this really weird relationship with LA. And I think that, and it's kind of like the consent decree order that happened back during the Rampart case. I think that there's a case at a point in time where you have to look at the relationship between the two police departments, and if it's really that damning, or at least it looks that bad for the other police department with all the notes you have, it's probably not something you want out in the media. You don't want it out there because it's really going to give a black eye to the, and I did say black eye to the other side. So please don't call me a racist because I mentioned a black eye. Okay. But at the end of the day, the relationship is there, and I think it would be bad. It goes back to when the original Labyrinth was going to be a little history lesson there. The original Labyrinth was going to come out, and when Labyrinth was bought by HBO Films, and Sylvester Stallone was actually going to play Russell Poole. Now that would have been a bad fucking ass movie if Sylvester Stallone played Russell Poole. That's a movie I'd pay to see. Damn straight.
Hey, yo, it's Russell Poole.
Yo, Reg. You know, that would have been a great movie. And you know, Russ Poole as played by Rambo. Right. But anyway, when that was all happening, and that really did happen. When that was all happening, being put together, HBO Films got a call from the LAPD, I'll think of his name in a minute. Wasn't Bratton. Might have been Bratton. Called the LAPD right after the Rampart scandal and everything had broken. They were under federal investigation, and the feds were coming in and were auditing the LAPD, and it led to the big consent decree where the feds took over the LAPD and they showed they straightened up and flew right. That they asked HBO Films not to release Labyrinth. Now people go, oh, well, gosh, they put pressure on the film company. They must have threatened them. They must have done this, that, and the other. No, I don't think that's the case. Actually, I'm pretty fair-minded about it. I think that what it was, the LAPD had such a reputation problem at that point. At that particular time, a movie coming out with Sylvester Stallone about how bad LAPD is was probably the worst timing ever because it was riding that wave, and it's the last thing they needed was one more nail in the coffin because they were already getting it from all sides. And so Bratton called up HBO and said, listen, could you just find a way not to do this? And it would, because it's going to make matters a whole lot harder for us. And HBO said, okay, that's fine, because they had a personal relationship somehow. His daughter worked for HBO or something like that. Somebody knew somebody.
That would still be police interference in a film.
Well, it is, but I'm being middle ground about it. I'm not going to put on the tinfoil hat and say that they wanted to stop the film because they were trying to hide something. I think that's really what I'm going with this. Is that I don't think they were trying to hide something. I just think they didn't need another kick in the nuts. They had Rafael Perez and that whole bullshit thing had already given them enough of a black eye. And I said it again, a black eye. And they got beat up pretty bad over that. And so at the end of the day, they decided to just, shelve the film. And again, that's why. So when people talk about now that the LAPD might have shelved the film, I don't think that it goes back to the HBO days when HBO Films had the rights to Labyrinth. It could be, but I'm kind of speculating. I'm giving the fair amount for that. But yeah, I think if you opened up the Tupac file at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of names in there that we would not be surprised to see that would be in there anyway. And it's just a guess, but
I would assume so.
It makes me want to get my checkbook out, write a check for $400, so go see those Tupac files. You too can see the Tupac files. And again, to your point, what are they hiding? What's in that? Unless they got the files crossed and then Jimmy Hoffa's in there somewhere.
No, I mean, really, to be perfectly honest, my first thought is if you can't talk about it, they're not going to be protecting anybody that's dead. They're going to protect someone that's either alive or an existing thing, like a department. Like, nobody wants bad press, especially as a police force with the tensions going on and police shootings happen all the time. If one cop is named in that file, and they could pull it up and it's a white cop, maybe like the white voice that was heard over the radio saying, got him, I don't know. But maybe if there was a white cop in there, that it might be a big damn deal for them that would make them look bad. I mean, it could be a multitude of things. I'm just spitballing here. But to me, I think that it's very, very suspicious that Vegas doesn't want anybody talking about it when we're talking about all dead people that are suspects.
Well, I mean, there were, from what I'm to understand, I can't remember who said it. It may have been Kathy Scott, and on that I'm a little dubious, but I want to say it was Kathy Scott that said that Vegas police officers were also working club security at Club 662 that night, or they were providing some degree of security for Club 662. Again, I don't remember that directly, but that's what she said, if I'm not mistaken. But if that were the case, I could see where maybe there were some Las Vegas police names that were brought up in that in the notes that might cause a little finger pointing back and forth, for sure.
So I guess the real question is, RJ, is when are you going to file that lawsuit?
Yeah, I gotta have to get that $400 right there.
You can't talk about it.
Right. Well, here's the thing about it. I'm looking at it like this. I'm monitoring it to see what happens with this, because at the end of the day, they're going to look at, and I say at the end of the day too much. I got to come up with a new catchphrase. They are actually looking at the files to try to come to some understanding as to which information can be made public and which information can't. Now, they could come back at the end of it and say, well, we all agree nothing can be made public. But then again, they can come back and say 10 pages are secret and the other 100 are released to the public. That might give us some inclination of where they're going with the investigation, but we're not really sure. Don't really know. Let's see here. And let's go back through a
But
couple of comments.
I just want to drive this home before we move on to a different topic. If it was, it was just a simple gang retaliation, I just don't see them hiding it like that. I don't see them needing to secure that information from the public.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see a reason why that they would, but they're fighting awful hard to keep this under the police protection statutes there, and it's a guess, but I think that almost everybody that was affiliated with that case now, from a Vegas Police Department standpoint, I think they're retired. I think everybody up their food chain, from the actual detectives. I know that the main detectives that were working on the case, they're retired. Brett Becker's retired. Kevin Manning's retired. A lot of them are retired. I think even the chief of police that's there, I think he's retired.
Well, let me ask you a serious question.
Greg
though,
McGurty.
Jake.
Yeah.
Do you think that they want to keep those a secret, in your opinion, because it's just a mar on their reputation? It's just, a black smudge?
I'm speculating here. If it were me, I'd want it out. I just want it out and over with. If it's going to be a black eye, there we go again. Black eye, not black guy, black eye. If there was going to be any damage, even temporary, to mar the reputation of the Vegas Police Department, I think that that would be rip the Band-Aid off. That's what I would suggest. Rip the Band-Aid off and be done with it. Because we're on a very short news cycle. Somebody that's savvy in media would understand, news is here and it's gone. So, I don't know that they would have a reason to, if it was just a matter of reputation management. I don't see that as enough to fight that fight about it. Now, that said, they didn't fight very hard. They filed a couple of briefs back and forth to let these other attorneys look at the documents to see what might be considered privileged and what might be considered, to be released to the public. They didn't fight too hard for it. There wasn't like this mountain of, briefs back and forth. They capitulated pretty quick, and that's because the court already beat them up about the shooter, mass shooting, and already said that. So I think if it was just reputation management, I think that would be a fairly easy thing. But there's something else in there. There's something that's bugging it. And generally speaking, when police are quiet about an investigation file, it's because the people that they're investigating are actually out and about. They're actually wandering around. And they don't want to lose the element of surprise. They don't want to tip the people that they're investigating off that they know something about that, or maybe it's a loose end that somebody never tied up.
That's optimistic, though. That's thinking that it'll be solved. Do you foresee it being solved after all this bullshit and all this that you've been through, the 10, 12 years you've put into it? Do you think at this point, will it ever be officially solved?
Well, I think it being solved and being prosecuted and bringing somebody to a prosecution and a conviction will never happen. Whether or not Vegas feels like they've solved it to the best of their abilities without being able to charge somebody.
That's a great Kading defense.
No, but it's and if that's the case, then that's the fact. I mean, Frank Alexander's dead. Yafu Fool is dead. The witnesses that were there to identify, let's say Danny Patton was the guy that Vegas was hiding, that they were interested in, and they wanted to arrest Danny Patton. Okay, let's just suppose that for a minute. Danny Patton matches Yafu Fula's description. Okay, well, Yafu Fula is not there anymore to give testimony and say that's the guy. He can't identify him in a witness lineup. He can't do anything. All they have is his statement, and that can be interpreted a bunch of different ways. So even using a practical example about who was there, the people that were witnesses to it, any person in the United States that's charged with a crime has the right to confront witnesses both for them and against them. And unfortunately, if those witnesses are dead, then the case becomes something that's impossible to prosecute because the witnesses can't be confronted. You can't get a fair trial. And so now, but having said that, can the Vegas police say, yes, they know and they can show the evidence and they can lead the trail that says that? And that's why your point about it's a dead guy and three other dead guys and a guy in a car driving around like fucking Iron Man, taking out the Suge Knight and and do that. I think that those are your night lights going out.
Yeah.
Is it? The battery power inside the bunker does tend to drain after a while, so the
Well,
reserves
it's nap
do
time here at
drain.
the rehab.
Yeah.
But I would think that what you said with all the people being dead and there's no one to give a witness description, I think it's funny that once so many people died, you lost your friend Frank Alexander, Russell Poole, another friend of yours passed away. Michael Moore died of an overdose, and then people seem to be coming out of the woodwork talking, very comfortable talking, and that's the nicest way I can put that. But I think that would fit what you're saying. I mean, for if there's someone there to refute your story or that was an eyewitness and could say, no, it wasn't the way that you're saying it is. I was there. This is what happened. I think people would be less reluctant to be talking about it now. I just find it very ironic how vocal some people have been after so many people have died.
Yeah. Hey, Machiavelli Don said Frank Alexander received calls to pull him away from the hospital. Actually, the calls that he received were actually that was Michael Moore that received calls, and it was calls in his room. And according to Michael Moore, they were to check up on him, that he was being checked on at that time. And Jesse, you just dropped off. I don't know what happened to you, dude. Where'd you go? Jesse dropped off the call. We'll try to get him back here in a minute. He'll call back in, I'm sure. But a quick comment about that. It was I don't know that Frank was ever actually received calls to pull him away from the hospital. He was there at the hospital a lot. He was there pretty much most of the time. But he worked in shifts, so I do know that there were times where he was gone. So I can tell that. Let's see here. MB says, I'm just reading some comments here while we're hoping Jesse can jump back on again. Like I said, the signal's kind of weak coming from the bunker. Yeezy, yes, the Patton brothers live in Lancaster, California. Yep, and that's true. Kevin Hackey and Gaddafi both said the driver in the white Cadillac shot Tupac. Well, if Gaddafi said that, I don't remember hearing that, but if Gaddafi said it, I'd sure like to know, Reese, if you can put your finger on it and let me know what document you're looking at that says that. That would be very, very cool to look at indeed. I'm waiting to see if we get Jesse back here. Hang on a second. I'm gonna bring him back here and see if he comes back online with us. If not, we may end up the show early. Let's see here. Oh, he said 5 minutes. Okay, good. His cell phone battery must have died. Bunker trouble. That's right. Bunker hood trouble. So let's see here. Better do a safety check. No, Reese, Jesse's just fine. Thank you very much. He's all right. Then the Russians did find him, but that's okay. He's close enough to the Russian border that they would probably find him all right. That's for sure. Let's see. What else here? Find the LA Times, September 8th, Edie and Frank both say they can identify the shooter. What's interesting about that Yeezy, that was a Chuck Phillips thing, and I may have to go back and pull the stuff about Chuck Phillips with Frank, because Frank never said that. And Frank, I have a conversation between Chuck Phillips and Frank where Chuck Phillips tried to get Frank to say that he said that, and Frank refused to say that. And Chuck Phillips ran with that anyway, and that's a bad thing. But I'm gonna make a note to go back over that again, replay. Maybe next week we'll replay the Chuck Phillips and Frank Alexander conversation, because Frank did not want to talk to Chuck Phillips about that, and he did not. Speak truth, RJ. Do you think Suge knows who killed Pac now? Yep, I do. I think he does. And whether or not he's willing to come out with that information right now, or whether or not he's holding it as a bargaining chip, it's hard to say. Let's see. Kevin Gaines, FBI doc, was on special assignment. We're just working in LA, but went to Vegas instead. He wasn't on special assignment in Vegas. Actually, that's not exactly true. The FBI kind of alluded to it, but no, he was in Vegas, and the LAPD condoned it. The LAPD knew that he was in Vegas, and they didn't do anything about it. And that was the point of the FBI report. Can we interview his friend, Officer Brian Bentley, about Kevin Gaines? Yeah, but Brian has gone on record to say that Kevin Gaines was a frame-up job, and maybe he was. Maybe he was. I don't really know to that end, but it would definitely be worth looking into. Yeah, Chuck wrote the article, but Frank said that. In fact, Frank did not want to talk about it at all with Chuck Phillips, and I'll play that because it's a good conversation. It's a good clip. Um, what do I think about Orlando Anderson's lawyer saying he didn't do the murder? I don't think he did the murder either. I think his lawyer's right. I don't think he did. It's pretty simple. I don't think he did. I don't think there's enough other than folklore and some people that weren't there that want to say he did, or some people that weren't there that want to say that Orlando Anderson told him he did, and Keith Davis, who's gone back and forth about everything, period. I think that, hold on. Well, maybe I could fix that. Hold on. Maybe that was my problem. Maybe my Skype dropped off. Let's find out. See if we can get Jesse back here. Let's try it now. All right. Kevin Hackey was a CIA informant. No. Kevin Hackey was an FBI and ATF informant. He wasn't involved with the CIA at all. Yeah, let's see if we can get Jesse back now. Da 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 da. Give it a second. We're gonna get him on here. Yeah, RJ was being mean. Hold on. Hold on.
Sorry, folks, there's some technical difficulties.
We're gonna do it quick and dirty. We're gonna get Jesse up there quick and dirty via Skype. There you are. Beautiful as ever. Greetings. There it is.
I'm sorry, guys. I had to pull out my strap and lay some busters down.
That's right.
So what were you going on about there, RJ? You were taking some questions, I see.
Yeah. But about Orlando Anderson's lawyer, Renee, said they should have sued the MGM for him being injured on the property. Yeah, he should have. There were a lot of and this is just armchair quarterback talking, but in terms of missed opportunities for lawsuits, I kind of alluded to it last week, when I said that Afeni Shakur, instead of suing Death Row Records, she should have sued Death Row Records and Brightway Security for negligence for how the whole shooting went down on the Tupac Shakur shooting. She'd have gotten a lot more for them. I don't know if they were carrying any E&O insurance or not. Maybe Reggie can bring that up on one of his 4-hour broadcasts. He can talk about whether or not Rightway Security had fucking E&O insurance. Liability insurance for when somebody gets killed on your duty.
Hold on, BG Knockout. I don't want people to get the wrong idea here. Like you just slipped up and said something.
Yeah,
Let
right.
me correct what you just said.
Yeah. So, but that was a missed opportunity, and I think it was a missed opportunity for Orlando Anderson not to sue the MGM for getting hurt on his property and not having security. I mean, security was in there pretty fast. When you look at the video, they got a couple of kicks in there, but then that security guard, I'm not sure I'd have been the security. Maybe I'd have been the guy standing by the tree saying, "Hey, I'm gonna sit this dance out. Thank you very much." Man, that's a hell of a beating you're taking there, dude. I might have been that guy.
I just came here for a good time, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I get paid $10 an hour for this. I don't get paid to jump in the middle of this shit. I'll just wait to see who. It's like the old drag racing story. The cops wait at the end and give the ticket to the guy who wins. That's the old drag racing analogy. So that they'll arrest whoever's standing at the end of it. Yeah, Kevin Hackey was an FBI informant. That's true. So
if you watch the Tupac assassination Q&A, which is great for those out there who haven't seen it, watch the Tupac assassination Q&A. Greg Kading's there, and this is long before Murder Rap, and he's begging Frank Alexander for an interview, and him and Kevin Hackey have the greatest exchange in the world. If you haven't seen that, look it up. It's on YouTube. It's called Tupac assassination Q&A.
Yep. Let's see here. Wired up, Big Simon know who killed everyone. Yeah, he probably does. Like I said, I think for him, it's something that is an annuity. It's something that he can use at some point. It's got to have some collateral value to it. Although as the years go by, I'm not really sure if it does. And if he said the dead guy did it, I think that's going to be kind of anticlimactic, don't you?
Well, I think at this point he's come out publicly and pointed the finger at Tupac being alive. He pointed at Diddy. He's pointed it every which way. He's pointed it at Reggie Wright Jr. according to that affidavit. So, you know, I don't know if even if he does have the knowledge of how credible it's going to be because of the mixed messages he's put out in the mainstream media.
Yeah, he has said so many things. It kind of dings his credibility, but Yeezy's right. The only person to get MGM footage was David Kenner, and he got and again, it's an edited clip. You have to go back and look at it. It's not raw footage. Right. It's edited. I mean, you know, you've got
from multiple different cameras.
Well, they were on a round robin circuit, so they kept flipping back and forth like four cameras on one feed, and it kept going back and forth. But if you look at the time codes, they're not. Excuse me. They're not synced. So, you know, it kind of goes and it tells a story, but that's the story that somebody wants you to see. It's not the MGM raw footage. So let's see here. 520s. The same reason that people flock to Vegas for a Mayweather fight. There are tons of women celebrities trying to go. Oh, is somebody asking why Orlando Anderson would be in Vegas? Well, I don't know. Kathy Scott said he didn't have a ticket. That's not necessarily a showstopper.
My question is not why was Orlando Anderson in Las Vegas? That's easy. My question is why was Orlando Anderson waiting at that planter? I've been to that planter, that area. It's a circular hallway that leads to every hallway in that hotel.
Yeah.
So that is the hub of that. If you're at the Tyson fight, he's standing at the hub of where people have to go through to exit the fight. That's my question. It wasn't why was he in Vegas. It was why was he standing right there.
Yeah, it's true. So let me see here. Why did they report this? Well, again, the FBI files are not what we have. Isn't everything. They gave us some of the stuff with the FOIA we have there, but yeah, the FBI was also summarizing a lot of it. We did pull some interesting facts out of it. We did pull some things that we didn't know out of the FBI files, but it's true. What you're reading is absolutely true, but that's an FBI summarization of what's going on. And again, not to say that the FBI is the final word on anything, because, you know, do they get it right? Yeah, they get it right sometimes. Sometimes they get it wrong. I mean, you know, I, especially looking around today, at today's FBI, I'm kind of a little skeptical about just because the FBI said it doesn't make it true. I would like to believe that they did a little more homework on it, but something tells me that the FBI and the Tupac and the Biggie cases are going to have a whole lot more to say after the end of the year. So I'm just putting that out there. Okay, well, I don't have to put it out there. There was an article regarding the City of Lies and regarding the Biggie case. And an unnamed FBI source, former agent for the FBI that worked that case, was quoted in that article as giving information about it, talking about it. So former agents that were originally assigned to work the Tupac and Biggie case are now starting to give information that they haven't been giving out for 20 years. So we'll wait to see what happens with that, but they're definitely talking. There's no question about that. So maybe we can ask them, if they decide to put their name out there, who it is that is there. Maybe we can ask that question and get that cleared up, because it does sound a little, you know, kludgy. He implies the FBI thought he was on special assignment and somehow avoided his assigned work. You know, Gaines wasn't worried about his job. I mean, I tend to want to believe that Gaines, if you hear what they were talking about, I think Bentley mentioned it, that Gaines had come into an inheritance from his mother. He had come into an inheritance of $500,000, $1 million, somewhere around there, and that's how he could go afford $1,000 steak dinner at Monty's. That's always been that cover up. That's why he had the big high price cash meals that he was buying for people at Death Row Monty's Steakhouse. That he had come into some inheritance money. If he come into some inheritance money, I don't know that he was particularly cared about his job. I mean, he's the guy that called 911 on his fucking self. Okay. I mean, how nuts do you have to be to fucking call 911 on yourself? I mean, what was that? That was like that scene in Blazing Saddles. Don't move or the guy gets it. You know, it puts a gun to his own head. You know, don't move or the guy gets it. You know, it's just, you got to be kind of, I don't even know, messed up in the head somehow to be calling LAPD.
They did find cocaine in his car when he was killed. Oh, that was Sharitha's car. My fault.
Yeah, it was the car he was killed in. Yeah, it was Sharitha's car. But the funny thing about it was that Gaines called 911 himself, and then the cops got there. He started screaming at other LAPD detectives. And I don't know, Bandstor, does that really sound like a guy who's really all that concerned about being at a special assignment? It doesn't really sound like he has much regard for anything at that point. So he took off and went to Vegas with Sharitha. And it brings up an interesting point because, Jesse, I don't know if you've heard or haven't heard. I've heard a lot of naysaying going on with these people. Have they ever bothered to give an alibi as to where they were when that happened?
Which people?
Any of them. Any of them. I mean, we think that Reggie was at Club 662. Huh? What's that?
Well, I said that Kevin Gaines can't give anything.
Well, no, Kevin Gaines can't give any. Where was he? But I think Kevin Gaines was with Sharitha that night, and I don't think that she's ever gone on record, and I haven't heard every interview she's done. So somebody can correct me and tell me that she did say where exactly she was when the shooting happened. That would be interesting. You know, that maybe there are witnesses that have placed her someplace else other than that. You know, or anybody else. I mean, Reggie says that Michael Moore's a liar, and Michael Moore said that Reggie was at Club 662. So what was Reggie lying about? I mean, what was Michael Moore lying about? Was Michael Moore lying about the fact that he was at Club 662? I mean, if he's a liar, then maybe Reggie wasn't at Club 662. I don't know. You know, because Michael Moore claimed that he was standing next to Reggie and he heard "got him" over Reggie's walkie-talkie. That's what he said. Okay? So if he's a liar, what's he lying about? Just part of it?
From that statement.
What? What
did he stand to gain from that statement?
About what? That he was about the got him statement?
Yes. What would Michael Moore stand to gain by telling that story?
Well, that is the question, isn't it? I mean, what kind of a grudge do you have against Reggie if that's the story you're going to tell people? I mean, Michael Moore and Frank were friends. Sure, they were friends. They got along. I can personally tell you they weren't that great of friends because they didn't talk. The whole time I knew Frank, I mean, and I wasn't with Frank every moment, so I don't know when he called. But when I talked to Frank about Michael Moore, we talked to Michael Moore. He did the interview with Michael Moore. They didn't talk for a long time. Michael Moore, I think, even moved out of state during that time. They didn't talk that much. So it wasn't like they were buddies, and Michael Moore just decided to do a solid for Frank. Here, Frank, let me throw a few more shekels in your pot with no promise of payment or anything like that. But let me do an interview that can totally help you prove your case and screw Reggie at the same time. Sounds like a winning plan, doesn't it?
That's a conspiracy theory if I've ever heard one.
Well, I mean, because other than the fact that it's true, other than the fact that what he had to say was true, then you have to examine and try to figure out what was the beef that Michael Moore had with Reggie. What was their beef? And if Reggie wants to talk about it, we'll get one side of the story. Michael Moore's dead, so we'll get one side of the story. But it would be very interesting. And again, like with the Sharitha, I can't sit through 4 hours of yammering on a live stream. Not every week. And I don't know. Maybe Reggie has said specifically where he was. What Michael Moore's motive was for saying all of those things about him. Things that obviously could be very easily disproven, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, Al Giddens.
Especially when he was still alive.
Al Giddens didn't call. Yeah, exactly. Especially when they were both still alive. I mean, Al Giddens. He said Al Giddens called his room a dozen times, checking on where he was, and he said the calls came from Reggie. I mean, there was calls at that. So, I mean, there's a lot of details in here that could probably be disproven. I haven't heard Al Giddens specifically get on there. I heard Michael Moore's roommate. What was the guy that he said I shouldn't go, and he was there. It was Tim Williams, I think it was, and Tim Williams was he was a little vague about things. He talked a little bit about things, but at the end of the day, I don't think Tim Williams even gave an explanation of why Michael Moore would lie about those things. That again, he said what he had to say. I mean, it is what it is. Let's see here. So Reggie gave. So I got to go back to the comments and maybe we'll wrap it up for this show. But let's see what we got. See what we got going here. Let's see here.
It's no fair. I can't see them.
Oh, you can't see the comments. Yeah. Well,
You can't see comments in a bunker.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm just looking to see if there's anything here. No one said Reggie had a ticket to the fight. Reggie, I don't think Reggie had a ticket to the fight. He was over at Club 662, babysitting the drunks. Bodyguarding the drunks, making sure they were okay.
Has the biggest superstar in the world.
Huh? Yeah.
He's laid back with Risky Brent at 662, making sure the death row artist was fully protected.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And the head of the record label too, because we all know they don't need.
No offense to Risky Brent, but I mean, who was at the club? Danny Boy was at the club. Risky was at the club. I don't even think who was it? It was Chuck D or someone that was supposed to show up. I don't even think that they were there. It was Run DMC. I don't even think they were there at the time, were they?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just here. Well, then it must be true. Reggie said he had a ticket to the fight. It must be true. Must be true.
Well, why didn't
he
Reggie
said it?
Go?
He said it. It's got to be true.
I know if I'm the head of a multi-million-dollar security company and I have the #1 rap star in the world, under my protection, going to the Tyson fight.
Okay.
Pull me out of the Tyson fight.
I'm going to stop you for a minute. Hang on a second. I'm going to stop you for a minute. Yeah, okay. Well, you know what? I saw Louis Cruz's, whoever that troll is. I saw your little thing about why you guys always lying. It's that little ham bone shit, the shtick that they did, forever ago when they talked about somebody's always lying. Okay. First off, again, lying about something or what specifically? Let's get into the dirt about that. If you want to send an email or something like that, say what I'm lying about. I'd like to know that because it's not, my story is pretty consistent. What does Kevin Hackey say about Kevin Gaines? No, Kevin didn't know Kevin Gaines. Kevin Gaines was LAPD. Kevin Hackey was Compton School Police, and I think Kevin knew of Kevin Gaines from hanging out with Sharitha. But you got to remember, Sharitha was kind of keeping Kevin Gaines, and she's even said that she kind of kept Kevin Gaines on the periphery. It wasn't like Kevin Gaines was part of the regular right-way security death row rotation. He wasn't part of that. So, let's see here. Yeah, Orlando Anderson was not sitting in death row reserved seats.
Well, think about it. Okay, Reggie Wright, head of security. He has tickets to the biggest fight in the world, guarding the biggest artist in the world at the time, but he doesn't go there. He stays back at 662. He makes sure all the doormen, Papa G and Risky and Danny Boy are good, and the biggest stars in the world go with minimal security to a location. Either you're the most incompetent person in the world or you're lying.
Well, Papa G wasn't at Club 662. Papa G was at the hotel doing a press get-together at the time. He was doing a big press party for after the fight. They were going to do an after party. Papa G was at the after party, according to Papa G. Right? Did I miss something?
Yeah, no, I was generalizing. Those are the people that have came out publicly and stated that they were at Club 662 that night.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people at Club 662. Too bad they weren't at the hospital where people were actually shot and hurt. Do I suspect Kevin is the shooter? Kevin Gaines? Was that? I'm trying to hold on. We need more information about Kevin Gaines. Um, let's see. Did Mob James say he was sitting there? I don't know. The Jesse, the chat boards are very confusing right now. Got a whole lot of conversations all going. Okay,
I'm kind
Machiavelli.
of glad I can't see it.
How do I know that Orlando Anderson was there? Because, well, he was standing in a pot when they came out of the fight. Now they did go downstairs first, so I guess he could have been at the fight, but I had never heard that before.
In Orlando's defense, I heard that is the best place to find women.
Well, Van Store puts out a good question. RJ, do you suspect Kevin Gaines was the shooter? Are you inclined to believe he was likely the one who sprayed the car? Is it something you've seriously considered? I think back when we did Assassination 1 back in 2006, I think that we looked at that. We looked at whether or not the shooting was done by a professional. That it was not just a random spray. If you look at where all the shots were fired, they were fired low. The door height of a BMW and the door height of a Cadillac are exactly the same height. So it's very difficult to get your arm down, cocked down to shoot downward into a door. Normally, if you roll down a window and lean your arm out, you're vertical with whatever it is you're shooting at, even if you're shooting ahead. So it's tough to say that those shots, because they were low. I mean, and Jesse's brought out a point many times that Tupac's death was kind of almost a freak accident. They wouldn't have killed him had that one bullet not ricocheted off his ring.
Yeah.
That
it wasn't a kill shot. It wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't
directly in the chest or the head.
Let's
it was a bullet that ricocheted.
Well, let's just be smart about this for a minute. Sorry to hurt everybody with a little common sense here, but you need 3 shots to effectively take somebody out in a situation like that. You stop the Cadillac next to the BMW. You shoot once. You lean your arm out the window. You shoot once to break the window. You shoot a second time to shoot the person in the head that's 5 feet away from you at point blank distance. And then you put the other shot to shoot the other guy. That's it. You need 3 shots. Okay, and if you really want to tempt the dice and think that the glass may not stop your projectile from hitting what you intended to hit, maybe 2 shots. But you're going to stop the car. All this spraying of bullets and stuff like that when you have an easy shot, it's like premature. And I won't talk about what it is, but somebody was rushing to get their shots out. But to answer the question, we did look at whether or not this was a staged shooting, whether or not it was a warning shot. Or a warning that went bad. Yeah, you remember when we kicked that around? We did. Let's say the bullet pattern implies somebody was shooting, tried a specific part of the car. Well, see, that's what we were looking at. We were wondering whether or not, and it was something we kicked around for a while, as to whether or not it was actually the shooting was a warning made to look like it because they wanted to scare Tupac into going back to common sense again. There's no greater threat that draws him back to death row if the those old Crips and those old bad guys, aren't going after you. East Coast going after you, Tupac. Better come back to death row. Maybe Tupac was feeling a little too independent. They wanted to reel him in, so they wanted to scare him. That was one of the scenarios that we took a look at, whether or not it was a scare tactic that went badly wrong. It was
because the reason that Tupac fled to death row is because he needed protection. Now, if Tupac was calling for audits and he wanted to leave death row, like so many people have came out and said, then death row would need to reel him back in and say, your enemies are still out there, buddy. So, that was something that RJ and even I think Frank it was at the time we're talking about.
Yeah.
But,
we took a hard look at it.
Along came more leads.
Yeah, we took a hard look at it. Thank you for the super chat, JM. We appreciate it. Thank you. A couple bucks, ding, ding, down that way. We give you that. Thank you. We don't all agree, but stay real. We need to get JM on the show for sure. We need to get him on the show. He's done a lot of really good work. I've been actually watching more and more of his videos. I hadn't caught up with them. But I've watched the most recent ones, but I'm starting to go backwards and watch some of the older ones. And they're really good. They're really good. I appreciate the fact that he took a lot of the things that we laid out in Battle for Compton. We took a lot of things that we put together in the research that we were doing that we just didn't have time to put in the show. and he's gone out there and taken it to the next level. He's got that St. Ives commercial. Remember the one that you were talking about where they're in Reno, and and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Warren G had a house in Reno at that time. That was something
I'm not
that
100% about that.
me either. But there would definitely be something maybe somebody could follow up on. So no, I don't think. Okay, hold on. No, somebody asked if they were saying that that somebody's saying Quincy Jones is involved. No. I don't think that Machiavelli Don was saying Quincy Jones was involved. I think they were just making the comment that Quincy Jones said that if Tupac hadn't gotten arrogant in the end, that he would have probably lived longer, and it was his arrogance that got him killed. So, but again, and again, you got to understand something, and this is where I struggle a little bit with things, Jess, and I'm sure you probably do too. People learn at their own pace. People digest information at their own pace. And it depends on how long you're exposed to it. It depends on what your level of caring is, whether or not you really care. And it really depends on what your level of interest are, but then also just your ability to grasp a lot of facts. And this is a very fact-intensive situation, very fact-intensive case. And if you've got a life outside of this and you want to, go live that life and do other things, then you certainly, are going to be pretty much limited on what information you pick up. So I don't fault anybody for not understanding or not having the facts. I have a problem with people who claim to know the facts or claim to be a source of authority on the facts and get the facts wrong. Like when Greg Kading said that Tupac, and this is just a classic for me, I keep going back to it, it's a classic, that why would Tupac want to audit Death Row Records when they had already done their taxes? Okay, he confused an IRS tax audit with a record company audit. He didn't even know what the hell a record company audit was. And again, if you're the lead investigator on a murder case involving a record company person who makes records, don't you think you would know the details about how the recording industry works? I mean, that would be, to me, the background you would need to understand motives, unless you just thought it was the dead guy and that's it.
Well, I mean, check this out. Let's say you're the #1 selling artist at the time and you just sold multiple millions of copies of a record. Don't you think you'd want to know where your money is or how much money you made for that matter? Or would you want to stay on your $5,000 a week salary from Suge?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, I can't even. It's a good point. It's a good point. And I missed the whole last part of what you just said because I was reading the comments. How's that for brutal honesty?
No, it's okay. It's just that, you know what, that Tupac had the #1 selling rap album at the time, at least, if not the album. And,
Right.
Selling multiple copies of records, you think at a certain point, instead of taking his $5,000 a week from Suge Knight, that he wants to know where all these millions of dollars are. And it's not incomprehensible to think that he audited Death Row. But Greg coming out so strong against it, to me, it's laughable. It's naive. Because I remember the Greg Kading on Truth About Tupac back in 2012, who was asking fans questions about Tupac.
Right. Well, I mean, that's it. And again, like I said, I don't have a problem with somebody trying to gain information and understanding about it. But don't put yourself out as an expert about it, or don't put yourself out as somebody who knows what they're talking about if you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, the bottom line, So Oliver Crenshaw, don't know who you are. You can come on the channel, call me all the names you want to call me. It is what it is. You got your catchy little nicknames. RJ Khan, that's the one they like to use, RJ Khan. And then there's always the ones about RJ and the Klan rally, and they played the little music video about saying the N-word and how white people couldn't say the N-word, and it's these little diggies here and there. Man, hey, Reestes, thank you for the super chat. Got another super chat. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think it's very funny that these tough guys on the internet are all of a sudden sensitive little social justice warriors if someone utters a word they don't like.
Yeah. Well, Bomb first, #1, much live for the Brotherhood. Speak English lately?
What's the Brotherhood?
I don't know. I don't know. Is it a group from the 70s? I don't know.
I don't know.
So let's see here. Reggie and the Glock. Well, there's a whole subject all better there. Well, anyway, so yeah, Yeezy, go ahead and do that, please. Just get rid of the trolls. It's a good thing. We encourage people to ask questions, speak their minds. We're going to talk about the news as it happens. We will fix the audio in some of our videos. When we repost this, Jesse will tweak that, I guess, and fix it in post, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Right.
I will.
Right on, cool. All right, well, let's see here.
One more, because I gotta go.
Yeah.
Warden's calling.
What's that? Who's calling? Did you get a
The
call from the Grand Dragon?
My Prime Minister. No, my Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau.
Oh, what's it? All right, let's see here.
Well, I appreciate everybody watching out there, peeps. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button.
Let's see here. Oh, let's see here. I was just trying to see. There was something there. So imagine we really knew. Would have been. I got a feeling they stopped. Somebody got out of the vehicle during the park. He bucked up and got shot. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of. Daryl Phillips answered my question: is Tupac really dead, RJ? Well, unless you're going to call his family, his friends, his close associates, all a bunch of liars, he's dead. I don't think there's any doubt in anybody with any legitimacy's mind, and I'll be the first one to apologize to him if he shows up tomorrow and cuts another album. I'll buy it, right? Won't you?
I just don't think that people change their nature like that. What made you like Tupac? It's that he was boisterous, he was loud, he was in your face. There's no way that someone like that could have stayed this quiet for this long.
No, that's right. Can you feel me? For sure. All right. Well, again, guys, like and subscribe. Make sure you do that. Give me cash, Russell Pool movie we talked about earlier. You'll have to catch it on the replay. Is it time to call for a lie detector test for Reggie and Kading? You can call for it all day long, and it never happened. But it is what it is. But if
They
you
won't
want to
take it.
huh? Yeah.
They
Well-
wouldn't take it.
Well, the thing about it is that if you want to hear some good stories, jump on the channel, Bomb First. There's a lot of good stories there about 20 years ago, things that may or may not have happened 20 years ago with absolutely no proof that they did or didn't happen, as told to you by a bunch of people who may or may not have sold an album in the last 20 years. Again, it's a lot of good, fun stories about mayhem and fast times at Death Row Records. But that's all you're going to get. Is you're going to get a bunch of stories, and you're going to get a bunch of people that want to subscribe to a common theme and have one thing in common, and that is that they are they're there for a reason. Anyway, let's see. Do you think Suge had a bulletproof vest on when Pac got shot? I don't think he did. Anyway, Jesse, any final thoughts? Any parting thoughts?
I just want to thank everybody for checking out the video, and if my audio is bad, I apologize. Thank you, RJ, for coming on, and we'll be back. We've got some more. We still got some stories in us.
Yeah, and I do have a lot better. I'll clean up the audio on it. I have got hours and hours and hours of unreleased Tupac conversations, thoughts, ideas, suggestions. We'll put it out there. We'll see how see what's up there.
What did he say, Tracy? How do we get them away from this so it's all us and
So
it's
it's all ours.
ours?
So it's all ours. That's right. It's all ours. Anyway.
One love, everybody. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Enjoy. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.